This is a broadcast of the Global Emergency Warning System. Emergency information is incoming. Please stand by. Emergency information is incoming. Please stand by. 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 Emergency warning. 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 This is a broadcast of the Global Emergency Warning System. Multiple emergency situations are in progress. Pay attention now for important information. Your personal safety may be compromised. Extreme weather event warnings current for Australia, Western Europe, Middle East. Civil emergency warnings current for United Kingdom, Japan, Spain. Extreme pollution warnings current for India, China, Pakistan, Turkey. Medical emergency warnings are current for Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Indonesia. Water emergencies in progress in South Africa and Namibia. Extreme weather warning, Australia. 3 tropical cyclones are active in Australian waters. Category 5 cyclone Gary is 45 kilometers north-northeast of Cairns, Queensland. Wind speeds in excess of 230 kilometers per hour have been recorded. Evacuations are now complete. Any persons remaining in Cairns and its immediate surrounds do so at their own risk. Heavy damage to buildings and infrastructure is expected. Flash flooding events are in progress. Category 5 Cyclone Tom is 65 kilometers northwest of the Darwin quarantine zone. Wind speeds in excess of 215 kilometers per hour have been recorded. Citizens are reminded that trespassing into the Darwin quarantine zone is strictly prohibited. The zone is considered uninhabitable and extremely dangerous. Heavy damage to the quarantine zone is expected. No rescue resources will be directed to the area. Any persons remaining in the Darwin quarantine zone are advised to leave now. Category 4 Cyclone Pauline is 120 kilometers northwest of Perth, Western Australia. Wind speeds in excess of 180 kilometers per hour have been recorded. The cyclone is expected to cross the coast in the far northern suburbs as a Category 3 event. Evacuation procedures are in progress. Residents of suburbs north of Joondalup are advised to obey directions of local authorities. Extreme weather warning, Western Europe. Unpredictable weather patterns are in progress. Temperature variations of up to 20 degrees Celsius are expected. As a result, cold snaps followed by warmer temperatures causing flash flooding is anticipated. Citizens of Belgium, France, Luxembourg and the Netherlands are advised to follow directions of local authorities. Persons in low-lying areas are advised to move to higher ground as soon as possible. Extreme weather warning, Middle East. Heavy cold fronts. Heavy cold fronts creating snowstorms with heavy snowfalls are forecast for Egypt, Jordan, Israel, Syria, Iraq, Iran and surrounding countries. Citizens of these nations are advised to restrict movements to essential travel only. Snowfalls in excess of 90 centimeters are possible. Temperatures may fall below -5 degrees Celsius. Disruptions to essential services may occur in some nations. Civil emergency events are in progress in the United Kingdom, Japan and Spain. Civil emergency events, United Kingdom. Large-scale food rioting is in progress in the United Kingdom. Due to the economic collapse, hyperinflation and scarcity of food, the Commonwealth government cannot guarantee supplies of food to the population. Food riots are in progress around major distribution points. The Emergency Powers Act has been invoked. Citizens may not leave their homes for the next 48 hours. Electricity rationing is in force. Between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. no power will be supplied to the grid. Cholera and tuberculosis outbreaks continue across England. Citizens are reminded to avoid contact with the infected. Medical supplies are limited. All suspected cases must report to health authorities. Patients may not attend hospital due to high transmission risk. Japan. Elderly unrest. The Compulsory Euthanasia Act, also known as the DOA Act, Death of the Aged, is now in force. Japanese citizens who are 80 years of age or older are required by law to terminate their lives on their birthday. Citizens must use a non-violent method of termination, assisted by their doctor. Government enforcement units have been dispatched across Japan to ensure that the law is being carried out. Any citizens not complying with the law will be forcibly terminated via lethal injection. Large numbers of elderly Japanese are staging protests in cities around Japan, in response to the law becoming active. These protests have descended into acts of rioting, vandalism and looting. Riot police equipped with medical backup units are attending the scenes of the rioting. Reports of airborne poisoning by sarin nerve gas at riots in the following cities is now confirmed: Kawasaki, Kyoto, Saitama, Sendai, Nagoya, Osaka. In excess of 250 deaths have been reported. Citizens in these cities should wear breathing masks and stay indoors. Do not go out. Sarin is colorless and odorless. Any persons inhaling sarin will experience loss of control of bodily functions, vomiting, defecation, urination, gastrointestinal distress, death following within 10 minutes. Spain, political conflict. Violence has erupted across Spain as the Catalan government has declared independence and sealed major transport links into and out of the region. Catalonian citizens are manning defense points along the border of the region and are actively engaged in clashes with the Spanish military. Multiple short-range missiles have been fired from Catalonia and have struck areas around Madrid, causing damage to buildings and infrastructure. 12 deaths have been reported as a result of missile strikes. The Catalan government has demanded the Spanish military withdraw or missile launches will continue. Spain has called for an emergency session of the UN Security Council. Spanish military advises that heavy missile weaponry will be fired at Catalan government targets within the next 45 minutes. Civilians are advised to evacuate the city of Barcelona immediately. Any persons within the vicinity of the Palau de la Generalitat de Catalunya are advised to leave now. Extreme pollution warnings current for India, China, Pakistan, Turkey. India and Pakistan, heavy particulate matter pollution. Extremely high levels of PM 2.5 and PM 10 are being observed in the following cities: in India, Delhi, Patna, Gwalior, Lucknow, Firozabad, Ludhiana and Agra. In Pakistan, Lahore, Peshawar, Karachi. More than 250 fatalities have been reported in the past 24 hours. Persons in these cities should move indoors immediately. Long-term exposure can lead to multiple negative health effects including lung cancer, heart attack, asthma, and cardiovascular disease. Short-term exposure will cause headaches, eye irritation, coughing and shortness of breath, and vomiting. Heavier particulate matter can also cause damage to the eye, causing blindness. Children, the elderly and pregnant persons are at extreme risk of harm. Ozone levels are reported at dangerously high levels in the following cities: Delhi, Lucknow, Agra, and Karachi. High concentrations of ozone in the lower atmosphere are extremely dangerous to humans. Move indoors immediately, preferably to a HEPA, filtered, air-conditioned building. Emergency centers are now open. Hospitals are on standby for respiratory emergencies. China, high fatalities from poor air quality. The PM 2.5 air quality index sits at 750 or greater for the following cities: Beijing, Urumqi, Lanzhou, Chongqing, Jinan and Shijiazhuang. Schools, airports, some government offices and retail centers are closed. Persons in these cities should stay indoors and wear a breathing mask where possible. Emergency services report in excess of 2,400 deaths in the past 72 hours. The government has declared an environmental catastrophe and environmental emergency laws are now in effect. Any persons found causing pollution may face criminal charges resulting in death by firing squad. Emergency centers and respiration clinics are now open to all party members and citizens of social rating 400+. All other persons should move to an air-conditioned building. Do not remain outdoors without protection longer than 12 minutes. After this time, symptoms of respiratory damage will begin. Cloud seeding is currently in progress in an attempt to clear the pollution. Should rain appear, do not go outside. Rain will be contaminated with polluted particles and may cause gastrointestinal distress if ingested. Turkey, extreme respiratory distress syndrome, ERDS. The following cities are on high alert for casualties from ERDS: Istanbul, Ankara, Adana, Amasya and Manisa. PM10 levels are reported as catastrophic. Short-term exposure will result in respiratory distress, cornea damage, and skin lesions. Exposure over more than an hour will cause ERDS and is considered fatal. All children, elderly and pregnant persons must use breathing masks and be placed in the lowest level of a building, in a HEPA-filtered, air-conditioned environment. Public transport and government services have been suspended. Stay inside, do not go out. Medical emergency warnings current for Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Indonesia. Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. Drug-resistant infectious diseases. Drug-resistant infections including E. coli and Staphylococcus are now at pandemic levels across Thailand, Malaysia and Indonesia. 120,000 people are currently infected, with more than 65,000 deaths recorded in the past 3 months. Hospitals are now in quarantine mode. Most surgical procedures, cesarean sections, chemotherapy treatments, blood testing and transfusions have been cancelled. Post-event infections cannot be controlled by antibiotics. As such, these procedures are too dangerous to perform. Citizens are advised to wear face masks and gloves at all times. Use antibacterial wipes and hand creams. Use best practice hygiene methods. Do not approach any infected person. Avoid congregating in public spaces, restaurants, cinemas, theaters, nightclubs and bars. Concerts and sporting events have been postponed. International travel has been restricted to essential movements only. All border crossings are closed. Major roads are closed to traffic except for military vehicles, critical food relief, and medical supplies. All funerals have been temporarily banned. All bodily remains must be cremated, buried in quarantine, or frozen. Singapore and Philippines, dementia crisis. The elderly population diagnosed with dementia has risen to epidemic proportions. 80% of persons 65 and older suffer with the condition. Approximately 90,000 people are yet to receive any form of treatment. It is anticipated that at a minimum, 45,000 people may be diagnosed with dementia each year. Facilities for seniors are at maximum capacity. 25% of homeless are demented seniors. Abandoning demented persons at public facilities is an offense. Authorities in Singapore will announce emergency measures in 2 hours. The government in the Philippines will open additional hospital beds across all major hospitals. Families are advised to care for demented family at home for as long as possible. Water emergencies in progress in South Africa and Namibia. South Africa and Namibia, extreme drought and water scarcity. Drought continues into its 12th year in Namibia and South Africa. The South African government has declared Cape Town uninhabitable. All water sources have been exhausted. All mains water supplies have been disconnected. All persons remaining in Cape Town must vacate the city within 72 hours. All government services will be withdrawn at this time and mains electricity powered off. A general evacuation order continues to apply to all suburbs from Gordon Bay to Big Bay and east to Stellenbosch. This is your last evacuation warning. The government of Namibia advises the city of Windhoek will begin phased evacuations of the populace. Less than 2 weeks of water supplies are available. Attempts to refine water from underground aquifers have failed. The water is contaminated and cannot be treated for human consumption. Members of the public are asked to leave voluntarily. Forced evacuations will take place when water supplies are exhausted. Water rationing remains in force. Any persons attempting to sell their own, or any other person's water allocation will be prosecuted.